So between the two of us, we get a lot of different challenges that individuals come to us for. And in particular, there are five of them that at least here of late have been jumping out to us in particular. So we figured, why not just knock out all five in one swoop? Here we go, kicking it off. Number one of the big mistakes is individuals deciding to train too hard or not at all.
Yeah, so let's dive into that a little bit. What do you work with more, I would say, active adults and athletes? So, which of the clients that you work with, where do you feel like most of your clients fall into?
I would say the vast majority of mine definitely go all out. More is better, typically tends to be the general mindset of things. Diving all in and just running themselves ragged. It's one of those things where it's it makes sense to where they want to see the results as quick as possible. And naturally, it's been ingrained in us that if you want results, you got to work hard. So you continue to work hard. But when it comes to training in general, the act of training itself is breaking your body down. Your body is not getting stronger or building muscle in the moments of actual exercise and training. That is the tear down process. Your body is getting stronger outside of training as it is recovering. So it's that fine balance of just making sure that if you're training that hard, you need to make sure that you're recovering. And so a lot of times it's that we're going in, going 110%, and they just continue to run themselves ragged without giving the body the opportunity to actually allow for those adaptations to occur.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say in my side of the practice, I almost see the opposite as we're working with people who are overcoming injury or maybe are afraid to move their body because of past injuries they've had in the past. They keep saying it's almost like that I'm going to start on Monday mentality. And when Monday doesn't happen and they don't get up when their alarm goes off, they're like, oh, I'll start next Monday. And so it then becomes this cycle of we're not actually pushing our body hard enough. And when we're going through the rehab and recovery process, it still is really important to move and challenge the body because, like you were saying, if you're moving too much, we're not really giving our body and nervous system a chance to rest, recover, and take in those adaptations. But if we're not doing anything at all, we're not really stimulating any change or making our nervous system and body actually challenged. And so I think no matter where you are, if you're recovering from an injury, if you've had past injury, but are afraid to maybe re-injure yourself, or you're someone who's an elite athlete or just really active and you like to move all the time, I think finding that balance between pushing yourself through movement, recovery, and maybe even off days here and there is really a good thing that everyone should strive to work towards.
And I would say it's that balance word that you mentioned. That is the biggest thing because especially for the type of individuals that I work with, if they are a professional athlete, it's not to say that you're not doing something for your body every single day. Like your body is how you do your job. You need to be taking care of it. So every day you need to be doing something for that. But that doesn't mean every single day you need to be hitting a PR in the gym, that you need to be doing all out sprints every single time. It's making sure that the workouts that you're going into are done intentionally. So if you just went and just crushed it the day before, maybe we pull it back a little bit to be able to give the body a little bit of a breather while still getting that movement, still focusing on whether it be the overall form, maybe it be a little bit more technical work to make sure then that once the body's good to go again, we have everything in line still to be able to go and then push for that PR the next go around.
Yeah, and I think something that I think that's a skill in life, not just in fitness, but it's also learning to listen to the cues of your body. And so sometimes you might have, especially if you're a professional athlete, yeah, you have a training schedule. These are things that you need to stick to and to do. And so for myself, like I like to Peloton and I have a schedule that I like to follow, but there are times where I have to listen to my body, whether it because my infant kept me up all night long, or because I'm on my cycle, or because I feel run down. We kind of have to make pivots where it feels like our body is talking to us so that we don't get ourselves into these traps where we have to take a week off or because we get injured. We want to be able to get really good at listening to what our body is telling us so that we can push for that optimal performance in a way that is balanced all of the time.
And that ties directly into essentially like the number two mistake of just ignoring recovery and stress management. So the more that the individual wants to continue to push themselves to do all those things, because like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing to improve myself. it's not giving the body that recovery time. And again, it's during that recovery time when all of those adaptations actually do occur. So the harder that you push, the harder that you also need to be able to make sure that you're recovering. And because that recovery process typically doesn't result in that higher heart rate, that sweat production, a lot of times individuals view that as not beneficial or I didn't do anything today type of thing, which is the exact opposite.
Which, and I think something that you and I have been really big on doing lately is our sauna and cold plunge as forms of recovery. And when we talk about exercising, generally it's viewed as a form of stress on our body and our nervous system that our body has to respond to. But it is also technically a form of stress to submerge into a cold plunge and to expose yourself to heat for 15, 20 minutes at a time. And so it's just different types of stress. And even yoga, I would say, it's not necessarily like a strengthening stress, but it's still stress on your soft tissues and your connective tissues. And putting those tissues under stress and maybe is a different way than under a barbell or by sprinting or agility work, but it's going to decrease your chance of more complex injuries, ligamentous injuries, things of that nature. And I think we get stuck in our head sometimes of, I have to push 110%, but you need those forms of recovery, one, to stress different parts of your body, but two, to also let your nervous system and your muscles recover and actually gain the adaptations that you're working towards.
Which we also need to get our cold plunge back up and working again on that. But yeah, and with all that too, stress can be a good thing, especially when it's that controlled stress. Because when we put the body through that controlled stress, whether it be a workout, the sauna, a cold plunge, because it's in a more controlled environment, that physiological stress is forcing the body to still have to be able to deal with it. But because it's in a controlled state, the body, just like when you exercise, you start to get stronger, you're able to lift more. As you expose the body to that controlled stress, when life throws stress at you, we've already essentially been exposed to that at the physiological level. It is not the same actual stress inducer event that's occurring, but physiologically, cortisol is cortisol. We've helped the body be able to process that and understand that a little bit better to be able to help manage those life stresses a little bit better when they do get thrown at us. So it's in these moments that the more that we enable the body to be able to help set itself up to be able to overcome those types of things, it's just going to set us up better for life in general.
Yeah, and I think something that I talk about in the office a lot is that chiropractic really helps your body be better at responding to stress. So regular chiropractic care helps your nervous system be more adaptable when you're in stressful moments. And your body truthfully cannot tell the difference between physical stress, like I lifted a barbell, or I sat too long in a chair at work, or I lifted a box funny, versus mental stress of I have a deadline coming up at work, I'm triple booked and I have to get my kids and I have to do this and I have to do that. And then even like environmental stress, seasonal allergies. Hello, Ohio, in the middle of March, like it's 60 degrees one days, 20 degrees the next. Like our bodies are exposed to those things all the time. And to our physiological being, it is all stress. It is all the same input that is coming in. And so, as many things as you can do to help your body become more resilient to stress, whether that be recovery based activities, getting adjusted, taking breaks, or finding that balance in your movement routine, those will all help you become more resilient to those stressors around you. And that really is kind of like the practical application of all of what we're talking about.
Absolutely. And then with all this, to be able to help the body manage the training aspect of things, to be able to also help from a little bit of a stress aspect, I might be a little biased in this, but nutrition plays a very big role. And the third biggest mistake is individuals overcomplicate the crap out of nutrition. 90% of it comes back to the basics. Make sure that you're prioritizing those balanced meals. And when I say balanced meal, it's exactly what your head is probably thinking. Make sure you've got a good quality protein source in there. Make sure you've got some good quality fruits and vegetables in there. We've been told since we were kids, eat your broccoli. Make sure you've got a good quality fat in there and have a good quality carbohydrate and be mindful of the portions of everything all together. If you do that consistently, you are going to be in an incredible place of just overall performance wise, mental clarity wise, health wise. It starts with that. It's an easy concept, but it is so easy to just overlook, overcomplicate, and just not necessarily be as consistent as one should with.
Yeah. And I would say, I think a lot of people are, I don't want to say looking for the quick fix, just because a lot of the people that we work with aren't necessarily in it for the quick fix, right? Like they are really in tune with their health and wellness, and they want to do everything that they can be doing. So it seems too easy to just do the basics. So they think that doing the next, like a detox or a cleanse or being keto or paleo or the carnivore diet or insert any other trendy term here is really what they actually need. If everybody else is just doing the basics, I'm going to go a step above them because like my performance and my quality of life requires me to be like just a little bit higher than the next person, which that's great. We're here to support you in that. But you actually just need to do the basics. And I think finding ways to make the basics part of your day-to-day life, like making it a lifestyle, which is something that we talk about a lot. It's not a diet. It's not, we're going to start Monday. Like it's Wednesday. Just eat well today. It doesn't need to be this whole thought out production every week. It's really, how do you make the basics fit into your regular life? And I think you could speak better on this because this is what you do. But I would agree. I think it's overcomplicating is the biggest thing I see people struggle with when it comes to nutrition.
And I think you made a great point is everyone wants to take it to that next level of going into whatever the specific type of diet may be, whatever that specific supplement regimen may be, whatever the specific cleanse process may be. If you want to take it to the next level, it starts with ensuring that you have a solid foundation before anything else. Such as if you want to be a world class sprinter, you better be able to have the ability to walk in a very good form and manner. You better be able to jog in a very good form and manner. Then we need to build up to that sprinting aspect of things. Like there's levels to it, but it starts with that foundation component of just ensuring those basics are being hit consistently. Once those basics are being hit, that's when we can get into those little minute nitpicky tweaks here and there. Those little nitpicky tweaks, though, are the attention grabbers. That's what all the headlines are going to be about. Have curcumin, have tart cherry juice, have your fish oil. Yes, every single one of those things can be incredibly beneficial, but they dwarf in comparison of ensuring that you have a balanced diet 3 meals out of the day. If you are hitting that, you are already setting yourself up better than I would say 80% of the rest of the individuals out there. So don't overthink it until you get those basics done in a consistent manner.
Yeah. And I would say that that kind of leads like into the next point of when people aren't doing the basics, we find them living in this state of like chronic inflammation. Like they are bouncing all over the place between, okay, this week I'm going to do this, and this week I'm going to do that. And without doing everything consistently, it gives our body, it's like we're almost on a yo-yo or a roller coaster. It's just, you can't find consistency and you can't find that balance. And so your body is just not really sure what it's supposed to do. And from a physiological standpoint, your brain and body chemistry wants to keep you at this place called homeostasis, which is truly balanced in your body. And it changes. Our body is so smart at changing based on the inputs and outputs that it's giving us. If it's cold outside, your internal temperature is going to do some things to warm you up. If it's hot outside, it's going to do some things to help you cool down, like sweat. And so it's constantly running all these programs in the background to keep you balanced. But when you're throwing new things at it every 5 days because you're like, that didn't work and that didn't work, you're just creating this constant craziness or inflammation in your body. And it can lead to so many dysregulations, and which is why you're probably feeling, I feel like crap. My energy's not doing what it's supposed to. I am worried I'm going to get hurt at the gym. I am not performing my best, even though I'm doing all of the things. This is really where going back to the basics can make a huge difference.
And it's everybody's favorite P word of patience. A lot of these things take time because, exactly to your point, the body is a creature of habit and it wants to continue doing what it has been doing. And if we change something, it's going to take time for it to understand, okay, this is the new norm. But a lot of times we want everything to adjust now. If we start making good dietary changes, shoot, I had a salad today. Why the heck am I not feeling like $1,000,000 right off the bat? Because that was one singular salad. We need that consistency. The body needs that consistency to be able to continue to adapt, embrace those changes that are occurring, to then produce the results that you're looking for. It does not happen immediately. Everybody wants the effect like caffeine. You take caffeine, whether it be coffee or what have you do pretty much immediately within that 60 minutes start to feel that energy pickup. Not everything is going to be able to induce that type of a reaction, especially when it comes from dietary things. It takes time, it takes patience. But with that consistency, you're absolutely going to continue to be in a better spot. When it comes to the inflammation piece, the two biggest things that I always encourage and recommend that are going to be universal, if you're able to, outside of just sticking with the basics, if you're able to reduce or eliminate fried food and alcohol, you're going to be in a great spot. Those are two things that I don't care who you are, what you do, what type of dietary lifestyle you're trying to implement. Those are two things that across the board universally are going to be accepted of. The less you consume of these things, the better off your body's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of blends in everything we've been talking about. It's really just about being consistent with the basic things and listening to what your body has to tell you. And I think there's a lot of reasons that you can get inflammation in your body. So don't take this to say that, oh, if I'm not doing these things, like this is the only reason why I'm inflamed. But if you're somebody who is tired constantly, even though you're getting enough sleep, or you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night for absolutely no reason, or kind of that like tired but wired feeling, or brain foggy, any of those things, I would just challenge you to think like, okay, am I doing any of these mistakes that we're talking about in this video? Because we're not calling you out. We're just trying to give you some helpful pointers and see where you can make some practical changes in your lifestyle. Because all of this information is great, fine, dandy, but if you can't take it and apply it to your actual life, what's the point? And I think something that we see just growing up in this millennial phase, we grew up in this like social media has all of the answers phase. And so there's so much noise out there and trying to figure out what is actually true and what is not, and why people are, I have to try the carnivore diet or I have to do this to fix this. It feels like there's so many solutions to your problems out there, when in reality, it's just boiling it back down to the basics. So yeah, if you feel like you have any of these things going on, we want this to feel practical for you and not just this a conglomerate of more info with more answers that you're like, I don't know what to do with this.
And what you were describing too is having that awareness of those subjective aspects of things, of that fatigue that's popping up. We're feeling tired. We are feeling a little bit sore. We have all those subjective things that sometimes we do just that, gloss over or ignore. But now with all the different fitness trackers and equipment and things like that, this is mistake number 5 of the vast majority of us have at least one form of biofeedback. Even if it's our cell phone that we keep in our pocket, it's tracking your steps. If you have an Apple Watch, it's going to be tracking your heart rate. It's going to be tracking your sleep if you wear it while you sleep. Then you have a million other fitness trackers of the classic Fitbit, Whoop, Aura, insert any of them. We get flooded with all this information, but the majority of us have either no idea what to do with it or just do nothing with it. We receive the feedback, we see it, but nothing is done with it.
Yeah. And I think for you and I, like we both wear an Apple Watch and we use Whoop. But I think for me personally, I don't use my Apple Watch so much for biofeedback. I use it more for just like technical day-to-day stuff. But my Whoop has been a huge help for the biofeedback component. And something that I think is really great that they've added to their platform lately is this like AI component. And granted, I'm pretty educated, and so I know, what these things are telling me, but I've tested it out in a few ways where it'll say I'm waking up more throughout the night, or my resting heart rate is higher than normal, and then checking in with it. And the AI component will ask me some questions to help me narrow down like why this is happening, some practical things I can do during my day today. Maybe it's adding in a meditation, or it's doing some yoga instead of the lift I had planned, just different things based on how I'm feeling. Or it might tell me like I'm feeling more recovered than I usually would be on a Wednesday. So maybe it's a better day to push it and pick up heavier weights instead of going with what I was intending on doing. Regardless, having that biofeedback and technology is a really cool thing to help us be more in tune and create that more customizable fitness plan, recovery plan that most people are craving.
And I would say for me personally, is that little bit of a reminder. It's where I will hold my hand up and fall into that category of, if I'm waking up and I'm putting in the time to go down and put a workout in, I want to feel something from it. So I have a tendency of pushing myself perhaps a little bit harder than I should. That biofeedback aspect of things absolutely comes back and lets me know if I'm pushing my body too hard. My HRV in particular, the heart rate variability. If I'm pushing myself too hard, too consistently, my heart rate variability decreases. And basically, what that indicates is my body's having a difficult time being able to navigate and handle and balance all of those stressors that I'm putting it in a controlled stress state, but it's having a difficult time managing all of that and calming itself back down to allow it to optimally recover. So if I'm just going, it sends me that reminder of, okay, I need to make sure that I'm also optimizing that recovery. Sometimes that may be I do an active recovery day, or I try to get myself to bed a little bit quicker. One may be a little bit easier than the other, but it's listening to that and understanding if I need to prioritize that recovery component. Now I need to establish how, where, and when can I do that to be able to make sure I continue to keep my body in a good spot. Because it's one thing to put in that work, but again, it's that recovery piece where those adaptations actually occur. It makes no sense to continue to spin your wheels if you don't have any traction to be able to make the progress.
Yeah, and I would say something that I have found, not just for you and I, but I think even just in practice as well, is finding some moment throughout your day to find a moment of recovery. And so I find it really helpful to almost bookend my day with a little mini something in the morning and a little mini something in the evening. It feels really easy to just like, I want to say easy to jump out of bed because sometimes it's not so easy, but just once you're up to just hit the ground running and just go hit your workout and just move. And sometimes that's great, but I think having that like moment of ease of, okay, I'm going to plan out my workout. I'm going to do a morning meditation. I'm going to do a gratitude practice. I'm going to get some natural light before I go do this. Whatever it might be, it's going to be different for everyone. And then same thing in the evening, rather than staring at your screen or watching TVs until you just go right to sleep, take 5 to 10 minutes to just take the screens away, read a book, do some stretching, do a more glorified face washing routine where you're doing some lymphatic drainage or dry brushing to help boost that lymph system. It doesn't really matter. It's really what feels right for you, and it can vary day to day. But I think having those bookend moments at the very least to have your recovery support you can be really beneficial.
Yeah. And then once those recovery markers show that improvement again, right back at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think just even with the 5 things that we talked about today, they're truly the most common things that we see in our practice that people are struggling with or think they're doing the right things, but have these are areas they have room for improvement in. And this just we want to present this for as valuable information for you guys that helps you reach your health and wellness goals a little bit faster.
Yeah. So again, the quick rundown of all that: top 5 mistakes: training too hard, ignoring the recovery and stress management aspect of things, overcomplicating nutrition, living in constant inflammation, and not paying attention to the biofeedback. And a lot of that boils back down to, again, stick to the basics, listen to the body, work hard, recover hard, and you're going to see the improvements.
It's just that simple. But if you need help or have questions or looking for some personalized guidance, reach out to us and we'd be happy to chat with you and walk you through it.
Awesome.